Above Average back with another video. This is a pretty hard one. This is a pretty hard one for me to make, but I'm going to try to explain the theory of one-ofs. So the theory of one-ofs is a theory that Henry and I came up with and that we have been incorporating for years now. So like 4 years ago, Henry incorporated it in his Thunder Dragon deck, or was it 3 years ago? And he got second or third place at a regional. I think it was second place at a regional. I've incorporated the theory of one-ofs in all my deck lists. In every single deck list that I make, I incorporate the theory of one-ofs, whether it was my 4th place regional deck profile, 3rd place regional deck profile, the regional that I won, my top YCS deck profile. I've incorporated the theory of one-ofs in all those decks. So now the key thing about the theory of one-ofs is that you have to think of cards in terms of roles. You're not thinking of cards as like, oh, what they are. You're putting them in roles. So like, for example, Call by the Grave is a defensive lowering card, or it could be a card that lets you like resolve your combo, let's say, right? So what are cards that fulfill the same role? We could look at Call by the Grave. We could look at Crossfire Designator. We could look at Monster Reborn, right? Like if your combo gets stopped through a hand trap, you can Monster Reborn, bring something back, continue comboing. We could look at Talents, right? You could draw 2. It's like a card that lets you play through a hand trap. So now, sure, there are cards that are very powerful and you want to play at 3. For example, like if a utility card is very powerful, you want to play it at 3. But then you're still risking the chance of seeing multiples, right? So there's a chance that you might play against the deck. Like for example, let's say you have Ice Dragon's Prison in your deck. You can play against the deck that Ice Dragon's Prison is just not good against. So now you're stuck with a 3 of trap card in your main deck, and post-siding, sure, you could side it out, but it still takes up slots in your deck. You're playing a 3 of card that it might be completely dead against a certain matchup, right? Or it could be very good, right? Sure, like you might be right, and you might play against the deck that it's really good against, and it's going to be good for you. But especially in a wide format or in a non-tier 0 format, that's a very bold statement. You're making a very bold statement by playing a 3 of Ice Dragon's Prison. And maybe that's the best card against the best deck, right? But what's the chance of you playing against that deck? So now you're stuck with a 3 of in your deck that's just not that good. Now, let's say I know Ice Dragon's Prison is really good. I, on the other hand, incorporating the theory of one-ofs, would play maybe 1 Ice Dragon's Prison. Then, okay, I'm thinking, okay, what does Ice Dragon's Prison do, right? It's a trap card that I could set against like the best deck, quote unquote. Okay, so I could play Ice Dragon's Prison. Maybe I can play 1 Torrential, and then maybe I can play 1 Compulse or 1 Diorama Cannon, right? So now all 3 cards are defensive cards, like defensive trap cards. Sure, they might not be like, they might not do exactly the same thing, but they all serve kind of like the same purpose. Now, by playing these 3 of different cards, 1, it makes your deck more unpredictable. So your opponent is not going to know like what you really have set, especially when you get to the later rounds of our tournament and people kind of like, the tournament kind of like hones in and people know what people are playing. If you incorporate the theory of one-ofs, this is a very good way to get an edge over your opponent and make them really not know what you have set, especially if you have Torrential Tribute in your deck, right? Like people are going to try to play around it if they see it once. Yeah, so in this case, if you play 3 different of a 3 of trap card, right? Instead of playing 3 Ice Dragon's Prison, you're playing 1 Torrential, 1 Compulse. You have more coverage. So it's still the same odds of you seeing that Ice Dragon's Prison, but it could be good against random decks, if that makes sense. If you're not playing against the same deck, then post-siding, sure, you could, if you are playing against the deck that Ice Dragon's Prison is really good against, you could just side into more or side into 2. Right? I'm really not a fan of playing a 3 of hard OPT card unless it's like a consistency card or something along those lines, like Pot of Prosperity, or you know, a 3 of spell card in your deck that searches for your engine, for example. Now with Triple Tactics Thrust into the format, after that card got released, I feel like people are discovering the theory of one-ofs and they're realizing that it's actually good. Like without them really knowing about the theory of one-ofs. So people are playing like one evenly matched in their main deck. They're playing maybe one Duster, and then they're playing Thrust, right? And like one Talents, and then Thrust equals more of those one-ofs, which is cool. You know, you're not falling into the hard OPT clauses that those cards have, obviously, besides evenly matched. I really encourage people to incorporate the theory of one-ofs into their deck. I feel like you're gonna start losing less to yourself, right? Like, you're not gonna, if you play 3 Talents, you know, there's a possibility of you seeing multiple Talents, which is not good. The card's not gonna just win you the game. And it's not like you're playing against Tearlament and it's a Macrocosmos, right? Or something like that, something along those lines. It's not like a blowout card in that way. I think maybe playing even 2 or 1 and filling in the role, like seeing what the role is of that utility card, and then filling it in with other one-ofs, gives you more versatility when you're playing in an open format. Now, for me and my Earth Machine deck, for the longest time, I was playing Theory of one-ofs, of course, but I was trying to play cards that would let me play through hand traps. So, for example, Call by the Grave. So, I was playing 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Monster Reborn, and 1 Reasoning. Now, that's 3 cards. So the odds of you seeing, let's say if there was 3 Called by the Grave in the format, you know, it's a 3 of. You could see a 3 of, right? What is it, like 20% chance, something like that? Now, all those 3 cards serve the same role. Now, what's great is that, let's say 1 card is really bad against some deck. I can easily just take it out, and I still have 2 cards out of the 3 that are good against set matchup, right? So that's the power of the theory of one-ofs. You're thinking of cards as in roles, and you're fulfilling those roles with different cards. And 1, you're not losing to hard OPT clauses. 2, you have more versatile cards that maybe if that 1 card is really bad against a set matchup, you could take it out and play another card, and then you still have 2 other cards in your deck that are great. That's pretty much it. I know after I finish this video, I'm going to think of more things to say about the theory of one-ofs, but I'm going to link Henry's video down below, and maybe by watching that video plus this, you can kind of understand what I'm saying. I know I'm not explaining it 100% like the way I should be. I know I can do a better job. Maybe I'll make another video in the future. Maybe even with Henry, you can help me out. I remember there was a YCS. It was a 3v3 YCS, and some guy played a 1 Nibiru. He played 1 Nibiru, and he was like, if I saw it, it was good. If I didn't see it, that's fine. I saw other cards in my deck, right? This person never drew 2 Nibiru. He completely eliminated the odds of him drawing 2 Nibiru. What if Nibiru was really bad in that matchup and he drew it, right? Okay, that's not good. What if it was good against the matchup, but he drew 2? That's not good. You're also increasing the odds of you drawing it for turn, which is also not good. So that's kind of the theory. Like, even though it's a one-of and you might not see it, like, it looks not clean, like the deck doesn't look clean, and it looks like, oh, it's just like a bunch of weird one-of cards. He was playing a set number of defensive cards, so he wanted to see a set number of defensive cards. That's a defensive card. It's a hand trap. Right now we had a Rescue Ace that got first place at the YCS Indianapolis, and he was playing a 2 of Pot of Prosperity. I necessarily don't agree with this, just because I think Prosperity is insane, but I would even want to see 3 Prosperity. That's how good the card is. But he said something very important. He said that it was a 2 of spell card in his deck, and an already consistent deck, that if he didn't see it, it was good, because that means he saw other cards in his deck that were good to see. But if he did see it, it was good. Now, I think that's insane, like, not insane logic, but it makes sense. People like to say and joke around like, oh, you want to see it sometimes, but not all the times. But I completely agree with that theory. Maybe that wasn't correct years ago, where there was a set number of really broken cards, but now the game has changed so much, which, like, for example, like Upstart, right? Upstart just let you see your more broken cards. But now there are so many broken cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That even if you don't see some of your broken cards, okay, you're gonna see your other broken cards. So the theory of saying, oh, you want to see it sometimes but not all the times, like people take that as a joke, that there is a joke. I think it's actually true. I think it's a thing now because how the game got and how the cards are so broken. Yeah, there are cards in my deck that I want to see them sometimes but not all the times. And if I see it, I want it to be good. I don't want to see multiples and for it to be bad. And that's a luxury that we have now in Yu-Gi-Oh! With so many broken cards being released. I could play Talents, I could play Thrust, I could play Droplets, I can play all these broken cards and not fall into, oh shit, I drew multiples. That's pretty much it. If you kind of understand what I'm trying to say, let me know. I know I'm gonna think about other stuff. Maybe I'll make another video in the future. But that's it for now. Try to incorporate the theory of one-ofs if you understand it.